Welcome to the Real Voices podcast, where we explore the personal journeys of real estate professionals through their own unique challenges and successes. Real Voices is brought to you by Equitable Title and Escrow, providing a better approach to title and escrow through team support and innovative services. Welcome to another great show. We have another great guest. We have Sandy Martinez here with us.
Hello, thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been in the industry? Who do you serve? What does that look like?
So I have been an agent for about 3.5 years. I joined the Medrano Group 3 years ago. My anniversary was just a couple days ago.
Okay.
I really got into the industry when I needed a career change, and I feel like my connection with people is really what drove me into, falling into this career. I feel like I can help people in a different way than what I've been able to in the past. I have had other customer service jobs, and I worked as a dental assistant before this and in pediatrics, and I loved it. I loved the connection I had with the kids and the parents and all of that, but it's just a whole other feeling being a part of people's big moments, like buying a house.
Right.
And I feel the emotions with them, just like this past weekend, I helped a client lock in a new build. She had a really, really tough year. She had cancer and all of this stuff. And when we were able to get under contract with this new build, it was just such an emotional roller coaster. I cried with her, and it's just those moments that just make me love what I do. Yeah.
Cool. So you said you were doing pediatric
dental assisting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little about that. So you're sitting there working with kids and their parents, assuming. What was it that made you like, what, I'm sick of this. I'm doing something else. What did that look like for you?
So it was a really hard thing for me to do because I actually really loved the job. I just knew that there was a cap, and I was like, I can still make this type of impact doing something else. I just felt like I've reached the cap of where I always like to be challenged. And I've always had a love for, being around kids and all that since I was really young. I actually was going to ASU to become a nurse, and I really wanted to specialize in pediatrics. But when I was in the school and everything, I was just like, it's not probably what I want to do. So I took some time off, but I still ended up in pediatrics anyways. But I started seeing the need for mostly Hispanic families. Okay. So I'm Mexican. I grew up, with the culture. Right. And I've seen a lot of families just feeling like they may not be able to achieve, the big American dream because of limitations. And I was like, I can help that. And I can help their kids and all that, set them up, for a better future.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So in your working with your people, have you found, what kind of challenges have you found in getting them, past the hump of understanding that they really can have that ownership? What does that look like for you? Yeah,
so I love to bring in testimonials of my past clients into the story, because once everybody can tell them oh, you can do it, but until they see an example of somebody doing it, I'm look, I've had people that literally have gone through everything and they made it through. So you can do it too. It might take a couple years. It could be done in a couple of months. You just don't know until you are in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I like that. Understanding. I was just thinking because even though people they still don't believe it. And so trying to get them to that point.
Yeah. And I don't like to toot my own horn or anything like that. I'm not one to do that, but I love to see the appreciation when they realize that what I'm doing is genuinely to help them rather than to scam them out of their money or whatever. Right.
Right.
And so when they see that, they say, we've tried this in the past and it just wasn't working out. We've had people take our money and then just not respond to us, and and that's what's hard for me to swallow, to hear those people's stories. I'm like, I hate that they have to go through this. So what can I do to help?
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. So what do you feel like your biggest struggle right now in your business? What are you dealing with right now?
I guess the biggest thing is with the market moving so quickly, communication between agents is what.
Talk to me about that.
I can give you an example I dealt with yesterday. So I have a client who's looking for investment property. I just helped him a couple months ago purchase his primary residence here in Arizona, and he's like, all right, I'm ready to buy an investment property. Great. We go out to see homes. He loved one of them, had a really great relationship with the listing agent. Sounded like they were going to accept our offers. There were a couple negotiating back and forth. And then the seller stopped responding to the agent. And I think he got scared. And then he stopped responding to me because he didn't know what to say to me. I'm like, just tell me. Mm-hmm. I know it's a difficult market. I know that there's a lot of competition. Just be upfront. And so he finally got back to me. He's like, oh, we accepted a cash offer. Okay, cool. You could have told me that yesterday while we were we basically would have had it if they would have communicated with us sooner.
That makes sense.
That's the hardest thing.
So in understanding that, what do you do to communicate? Do you do many listings, or are you particularly buyers?
I mostly work with buyers. Okay. But yeah, I definitely have lots of listings under my belt too. But
so talk to me. How do you, especially on the listing side, how do you keep up with, if there are multiple offerings, how do you keep up with all the people when you're going to go ahead and reject those all? How do you do that?
Truthfully, I just kind of give them all updates on where we're at as often as I can, right? In this market, things progress really fast, right? So it's like, okay, we have this. So I'll let them know up front. We have this many offers. What's your highest and best? Okay, great. But if I have somebody that's, a more favorable offer for my clients, then I just let them know, okay, this is where we're at. Can you beat this? And yeah, I just try to keep them updated as quickly as possible. I don't wait, 3 days to let them know, hey, sorry, we're not accepting your offer.
It's tough. That's tough for people.
The hardest thing is when you're thinking this and then you go onto the MLS, it's already pending. You're like, oh, okay, never mind.
Right. It's like trying to get a relationship. Like, oh, you don't like me? What's up with that?
I know.
Stuff, right?
I know. And I have that that I've always had that I need to please everybody. And so when that kind of stuff happens, okay, I'm not trying to take this personally, but I do sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm a great person. Yeah, but
so talk to me. I like to talk about that. Dealing with our personal emotions and things when we're trying to deal with contracts and other people's needs. How do you get through that? Especially that one. How do you deal with that daily?
So I really just have to constantly remind myself, unless they tell me that I'm doing a bad job, people go through things all day long that I don't know about, and I cannot take it personally. If they are being a jerk to me, I will just brush it off. I used to take it to heart a lot more. So a lot of therapy. And that's just how it is for me. I just have to talk to myself a lot to be like, hey, it's not me. And if it is me, then what can I do to, and I still always ask, what could I have done better to help make this experience better for you when it comes to clients, right? Listing agents or other, buyer's agents, it's hard to have that conversation with them. We're already busy enough. We don't have to go through that. But, the relationship with clients is so important.
Makes sense.
Just want to make sure that if there is something that I can remedy that, is, maybe not favorable, then okay, let's work on that.
Makes sense. Yeah. Growing up, there was the teaching that if you talk to yourself, you were crazy. And then if you answered yourself, you're really crazy, right? And so I kind of grew up thinking, man, what's wrong with me? Because I always had that self-reflection. And I think it's important. Sometimes it was you were talking negative to yourself, and I noticed that I did that more often. But preaching to yourself about how you can just have self-worth.
Absolutely. I
am worthy. My bank account really isn't determined on how much I'm really worth, right? And so sometimes our banking, the money goes up and down. So it's our worth doesn't, though. We're always worth.
Those are things we have to think about, like, that's just the industry we were in, right? Nothing's ever promised until a deal is closed, right? I actually, I try to, work in affirmations into my day. I actually downloaded an app earlier this year that kind of pings like 8 times a day, a little, hey, you're doing great. It's called I Am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's just like, I am enough, I am this, and you can set it to different types of, for me, it's more of just like self-worth type of affirmations.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's important for us. So yeah.
Yeah, and sure. I'll get it on my watch. Like, okay, great, I'm all right.
I do have worth.
Yeah.
Cool. So talk to me about some of the strengths or things that you bring to your clients that say the next agent wouldn't. So there's plenty of Hispanic agents around. Why do they choose you over the next person? Yeah. What are you doing differently?
So first off, I am always honest.
Okay.
I mean, that's just always been me, upfront, honest. When there are situations that come up, I will bring it up first. I like to be the first to admit if I'm done anything wrong or, anything like that. Even if it's not my fault, I like to take responsibility because of, when it's obviously certain things, but I like, like I could have done this better, and really just hearing them out is a really big thing. People love to talk. And if you just let them talk, you pick up so much more about their personality. And then, obviously we know about building rapport, but not everybody actually listens and soaks in what they're talking about, and I know a lot of people say that they do that and it's fine, but I've heard a lot of my clients just say, you actually get me. Yeah. Sometimes
it's tough to listen. It's a skill for sure. Trying to develop how to just listen and hear people and understand.
Yeah, and I do love to talk, and I talk fast and a lot, but I'm a really great listener too. Awesome. There you go.
So it seems like you're pretty heavily into family, and that's who you are. So talk to me a little bit about when you're growing up. Who was your role model? What did that look? Who was that? And what did that look like for you?
Honestly, I cannot pick one person. I grew up one of 5 kids.
Okay.
In a Mexican household, very culturally strong, my parents very traditional, grandparents all very traditional. What I loved is that my siblings and I are really close in age. So we all just bounce off of each other and learned from each other. We're still really close to this day. We're in our 30s, except for the youngest. And I feel like seeing how they've all progressed in life, and we're all on different paths. We had the same upbringing, but we're all on different paths. So it's kind of cool to see like how that's progressed over the years. And I guess I could say that they've been my biggest inspiration.
Okay.
Having a close-knit family, not just like immediate, but like exterior. So like my parents' siblings and their cousins, like we're all very close. I'm really close to some of my second and third cousins. And just having really great communication is so important too.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I guess when you're running around as a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? Was it the nursing? Was that?
So it changed. So I for the longest time I wanted to be a vet.
Okay. So kind of the same.
Yeah. I love animals. I always said I'm gonna have 5, 6, 7, 8 dogs. And Mom's like, absolutely not. We were never allowed to have pets in my house. So that was like, well, I'm going to have them and I'm going to take care of them. And then as I got into high school, I was like, well, I don't know if I want to go to school that long. But then I just, my passion for helping people and whatnot is what drove me into wanting to be a nurse. And then all that just shifted a little bit, but my values are still there, right? Like taking care of people.
Right. So talk about that. Where do you feel like you picked those up, those values of just wanting to help people, and where did that come from?
I think it's just from being surrounded by so many loving and giving people in my family. And I grew up in a very diverse community in California, and seeing so many different cultures come together and not be divided, and all of that just kind of like set me up for wanting to continue to have connections with people and really learn about what people do and how they're doing it. And I'm always wanting to learn. And so I think like through those types of connections, you learn about people, what they do.
Yeah. I talk about that a lot when people tell me that they're, they're friendly and they're open. I'm like, how often do you have someone of a different flavor at your dinner table? Right?
Oh, yeah. For me, it's all the time. Right. I just am so welcoming myself that I kind of look for those types of people too, that would welcome me. Right. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I can appreciate that. Thank you. So talk to me about just an idea of, or not an idea, but something that you've done to maybe bring some food on the table or bring some money in the house. What would be the most interesting thing you think you've done in your life?
So I actually worked at In-N-Out that was my first job. Okay. Right. Coming in out of high school, and I actually worked for 12 years, even through the years that I was a dental assistant.
At In-N-Out?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I say it's interesting. Yeah, it's like a fast food job or whatever. But I say it's interesting because I learned so much about like people skills. Like you are around so many different people all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think I branched out from being very introverted kid. I was a very introverted kid. And being in that environment like set me up for being around that. But people don't know that you can actually make a career out of that kind of job, right? Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Real estate, I've gone through so much and seen so much and things that I don't think other agents would ever go through. But I would say that's probably like
cool. Yeah. My son, he's working at Chick-fil-A. I'm like, what were you thinking, dude? They're paying much more money over at In-N-Out, and it just seems like a better way to go. So totally. Yeah. Totally get it. We talk about that. Man, we ought to go get a job at In-N-Out, huh?
I know. The only thing is they do it hard hours for sure.
Right. I mean, it's that's the service industry, so it's what you get.
Absolutely.
So, for sure. So, do you read much? Do you get into that?
Yeah, not as much as I'd like to. It's funny, my sisters and I and some of our friends started a book club, so I started reading a little bit more over the last like couple of years than what I had been. And I realized real quick, I love like mystery and like thrillers more than anything. Okay. I'm like super messed up, I guess, but I love
those sales. So I don't think you're messed up at all.
Yeah.
So I guess in your man, I love the idea of a book club. I'm always like, man, we should do that, but I just don't have the mental capacity to create it and keep it going. Yeah. So. But talk to me about the book club. Sure. All the books you guys have read over the years or so. Which one do you think has been most impactful for the group that you guys were all like, whoa, this was?
That's a really hard one because all of a sudden I just like blanked on. I've never read a book in my life, But
I hear you.
But the book club it's obviously more just for getting together. We love to incorporate food when we gather. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the books that we read, if there's like certain dishes that they highlight a lot, we'll like bring them to our book club. And we actually joined I don't even know, it's like a group where they send you books that haven't been released yet, and so we can read them. That's and cool. So one of them was it was a very controversial book called Wild Game. And it was nothing that like any of us have ever experienced or anything like in our personal life, but it was just like the drama of it was just like we were so like so into it. Like we just kept texting throughout, the month that we were reading it, like, oh, have you guys gotten to this part yet? But it was cool to see the book progress from this like hasn't really been released yet, and now it's like this big book. Right. Yeah. So that was fun.
Cool. So I love that, just getting together and the idea that you're bringing into some food into it and just loving on each other. Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. Is there a book that you've read that you felt like this was beneficial to you that may have made you think differently?
I would say 5-second Rule.
Okay. Why that one?
So I have always struggled with like doing things. Like I kind of like talk myself out of stuff a lot. And so this book, this is a 5-second rule. You count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then it's just like, go. You do it now or you don't do it ever, kind of thing. And so it kind of pushed me for a lot of parts of my life, to just take the leap and just do it, whatever it is. Even if it's just getting up and going to the gym in the morning, type of stuff. So I think that was a really impactful book. At least one of the more recent ones that I've read.
That's cool. I like it. I like that one. What do you feel like you're most proud of in your life? Things, whatever that might be. Where are you at with that?
Honestly, starting real estate, like starting my own business, it's not, my family doesn't do that often. Everyone's kind of just like let's go to college and get on this career path. And it was definitely a challenge to get started and whatnot. And, you're definitely taking a gamble in the industry, right? So it's not, nothing's ever secure until you're there and whatnot. So I think I'm proud of myself for doing that and just having success from it. Yeah.
I tell people that, every week I get to talk with risk takers, because that's what it is. It's truly what you're doing. So thank you. I appreciate it. How does your family, how did they react to you saying, all right, I'm going to do this? What did that look like?
Well, coming from a very traditional family, it definitely sparked some conversations. My dad, he actually owns his own business. He has a truck delivery business, so he understood, that. But my mom definitely had a hard time. She's like, but nothing's, what if you have struggled financially? What if this? She's like, worry worm, right? And I'm like, I'll figure it out, I'm a middle child, middle child syndrome. I'm very independent.
I'll figure it
out. I'll figure it out. When have I ever come to you guys for help? Not that they wouldn't help me, because they're super helpful. That's just who they are. But it's just my pride. Okay.
So how have they accepted it thus far? The last 3 years, have they turned around, or they pretty good?
Yeah, I think my mom still has her moments. She constantly is the one asking me, how's work going? I haven't heard you talk about this. Is everything still going okay? I rave about my team often. She's like, yesterday she actually asked me, she's like, I haven't heard you talk about getting together with them. I see them at least once a week. We get together, and even if it's not just for team meetings, we always still do something. Right. So she still worries, but obviously it shows that things are progressing.
It's a mother, no matter what. You can be a millionaire, she's still gonna worry.
Absolutely.
Are you eating right?
Yeah.
So
I know. Totally. I'm doing this so that I can help you later down the road.
It's awesome. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me today. Where can the people find you at? Where can they find you, and how can they find you?
Yeah. So Facebook, Instagram. I have my website, sandra.themadronogroup.com. Okay. So that's a good way to reach me as well. And then, through email.
Your cell phone.
My number. Yeah. All right. Here we go. 925-978-6729. That's
awesome. Awesome. We'll get that on the screen as well. Perfect. So I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.